Welcome to Dr. Roger and Friends, the bright side of longevity, hosted by 3 Ps in a podcast, Doc Roger, Teresa, and Danielle. Thanks for joining us for coffee and conversation. With 50 years of clinical experience, Dr. Dorian Mintzer, aka Dori, is an experienced therapist, retirement transition, money, relationship, and executive coach. She's also a consultant, speaker, and writer. She has been weaving adult development, holistic life planning, and positive psychology into programs that shape clients' roadmaps for wiser, more enhanced living. She hosts the popular Revolutionize Your Retirement Interview with Experts series and is co-author of the award-winning book, The Couple's Retirement Puzzle, the 10 must-have conversations for creating an amazing new life together. Dori is also co-producer of the Career Playbook, Second Half Plays, and has contributed to a number of other books, such as Live Smart After 50, Not Your Mother's Retirement, 65 Things to Do When You Retire, 70 Things to Do When You Turn 70, 80 Things to Do When You Turn 80, Out of the Box Retirement, Role Models and New Possibilities, and Right Source Retirement, Best Practices for Employers and Employees.
Well, welcome everybody to the bright side of longevity. I'm here with my 2 illustrious colleagues, learning something every day from them. But today we're going to learn something even more because we have a guest that we have long sought after, because Dori, as you just heard, is connected to everything, be that people or subjects that have to do with longevity, and does it in a way that is definitely the bright side. So I can't think of anyone more appropriate to have on the show. Dori, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I feel honored to be part of the guests that you've been having, so thank you.
It's our honor, truly, Dori. Tell us, let's start, if you would share how you got interested in this work. And you have 50 years of experience, so that's incredible. How did it all start?
Well, I think I always knew I wanted to work with people, and it sort of morphed over the years of how I've worked with people. But I've always been interested in people in life transitions, and it's sort of followed my own aging and how I've gone through the trajectory of life. So initially, I was interested in transitions to school, adolescence, pregnancy, marriage, marriages, pregnancies, jobs. And then as I approached middle age myself, I began getting interested in adult development and the transitions that happen as we get older. And then I'm actually one of what they call the leading edge boomers. So there was all this hype, back when I was turning 60 and everybody was turning 60. And it got me even more interested in, it was sort of like, yikes, I can't believe I'm the age that I am. What does that mean? Because I began really realizing that 60 for me was so different from my parents' generation. And already there was so much more information about longevity, about, studies about it's 30% genetics and really 70% how we take care of ourselves. So I got more and more interested in adult development, integrating my own experiences, my clinical experiences, positive psychology, which very much has influenced me, thinking about the importance of connection, engagement, purpose and meaning, meaningful relationships, connections, and all of that is just part of our lives throughout our lives. And so it just sort of began developing. And then, with my turning 60, I'm now one of the leading edge boomers still. So I'm now 74. And so it's been dealing with my own life, my own aging, and, societal aging. And so my passion is sort of thinking about how the notions about aging have changed. There's a big paradigm shift that's happened with aging. But I think understanding transitions, understanding and feeling gratitude, being able to reflect and accept ourselves and understand the perspective and wisdom that we bring as we get older, all of that's sort of influenced me and kept me passionate. I always like to think, people talk about the parallels between adolescence and aging, and there really are a lot of parallels, like who am I? Where do I want to live? How do I fit in? But hopefully as we get older, there's that perspective and wisdom that comes because we've had to deal with a lot of the ups and downs of life and the endings and the unknowns and new beginnings. So I think there's something wonderful, really, as if we can accept that idea of becoming elders and becoming mentors and sharing, but also learning from other generations.
Wow, Dori, you're going to be gainfully employed for some time with those kind of topics, the demographic. Hey, I'm taking this journey really with you. I was April. What month were you?
I was February.
Oh, well, thanks
Tiny bit older.
Thanks for being a pace setter for me. There aren't too many these days who are, but you definitely are. And thank you. Well, we don't live very far apart. Dori just lives a little bit north of me and up in Brookline, right? And I'm in Cape Cod, so that's just about an hour, except rush hour traffic will change that. But we're lucky to be in a state, and particularly you, Dori, being in a place where education is so important, and we have such fine institutions. And you share your experiences in one of those institutions, and I was pleased to be a small part of that. You were teaching master's level students, and in the past when I have done that, I sometimes have been shocked at some of the misunderstanding that some of these students have about what it is to be older, what being an older adult is like. What were the most surprising ones you saw?
Well, there were so many of them. It's just so interesting to think about helping people who are in their, say, 20s or 30s think about what it is for being older, because often people think about age as, it's those old people, without the concept that we're all really aging, and we're aging every day. And what I found is there were so many misconceptions. People viewed people 70 as sort of shuffling along, heads down, bent over. There's actually a little video that AARP has showing some millennials, asking millennials first to describe, say, 70-year-olds, and they describe them in all these, ageist ways. And then having some 70-year-olds come on stage, and it was like, wow, like, whoa, is that 70? So part of what my course has been really, it was trying to think about aging with the shifting paradigms that are happening. And part of it was helping people realize that even if somebody has an age, they still have a story. We have stories when we're younger, we have stories when we're older, and the importance of thinking about the whole person, not just perhaps the illness or not the disability or, but really as a whole person. And for many people, they said that they're less scared now. They began to just appreciate that aging is a part of life and that we have some control over how we age. And some people age better than others. One of the assignments that I've had each year, and people say it's probably one of the most important assignments that they've said they've had in their classes, it's interviewing somebody who's over the age of 70 or 75 with a list of questions and parameters about their life, their social life, work, retirement, for some dealing with widowhood or, just the vicissitudes of life. And people would do the interview, write up a paper, then present it to the class, and then talk about what their takeaways were. And it was such an eye-opener for people to just think about people as people, and that not to be frightened by age. And those that were going into more administration positions really began talking about the importance of thinking about policy issues, and that if you have these ageist beliefs, what you're going to provide, for people of a certain age may be very different from what they need and want. And so the importance of asking people, What's important to you? What do you need? What do you want? And for those that were clinicians, for the nurses that were part of it, or people getting their geriatric certificate, it was just appreciating that people are people and their stories. You may be seeing them in the most dire circumstances of their life, but those who are able to still tell their stories, there's such richness that comes on how people have dealt with life, how people have coped, how they're coping, resilience, gratitude, some of those things that are just so important as part of life. So I've loved the teaching and helping younger generations and learning from them too. So I always stand up there and I say, whatever year it is, what my age is, and I bring in people like Roger and other people, and they're just floored often, like, oh my gosh, this person, like Jan Hively, I know somebody that you've interviewed here. Jan has come a number of years, and she's now 88 and talking about all the things she's done and accomplished. And it's such an eye-opener for these students that I think you just should be out to pasture, or you're really over the hill if you're over like 50 or 60. Not the case.
I love what you said a few minutes ago about the parallels between younger people and older people going through some of the same things. Who am I? Where do I want to live? Where am I now? What's my purpose? And exercises like you've just described, it's, we're more alike than different. And being able to appreciate that, I think, is beautiful. And one of the things that I particularly like about your show, Dori, is just your warmth comes through and it's just so inviting. And I wanted to make sure to mention that, because even as we're talking now, you can just feel that in your voice. So thank you for that. What I was curious about today, what are some of the most important changes you've seen in the field of aging over the years?
Well, first of all, thank you for what you just said. There've been a lot of changes. I mean, I think the reality is we're in the midst of what's often called the longevity revolution, that people are living longer. And I think that in and of itself is the backdrop, because it used to be that people would kind of go through the stages of life, work, and then, when you think about it, the traditional age of retirement was 62 or 65. And with the age span, health span, lifespan then, people often would live just a few years longer and then die. Now, with people living to their, 80s, 90s, some into their hundreds, if you look at the traditional retirement age of 62 or 65, there are potentially 20, 30, 40 more years. And it doesn't necessarily mean that many years of being old and, frail and decrepit, but years to be very vital. So I think with that has come a real paradigm shift of recognizing that it is not all downhill after 50 or 60, that there is this kind of plateau that is out there. There are a lot of hills and valleys, not that, life is simple and easy, but there are so many opportunities and possibilities for us if we choose to want to do that. And it can be just feeling our best self, feeling more whole. It can be working in retirement, which always or sometimes sounds like an oxymoron. Why would you work in retirement? Retirement is not retiring from life. So that whole concept of retirement is changing too. Retirement is maybe working in a different way. I mean, we've shifted also from a more agricultural society to the industrial society, and now more to kind of desk positions in many respects. And people aren't, when they're 60, as burnt out and exhausted as prior generations. And so people often, when they're ready to not work maybe in the same way, not work full time, may want to work in a different way, may want to start a company, may want to work for a nonprofit. Sort of that shift from the working and knowing you have to earn a living to what's often called significance, finding the purpose or working more from your heart. And so many people want to keep working in retirement. Others really do want leisure, or at least for part of the time. They feel like I've worked so hard, I want to travel. Now, a lot of that's called into